Hello again, this is James, aka JP Harker, doing another book review. I say another book review, it's the same book review. It is Lord of the Rings, but we are now doing part 2, which is The Two Towers. Good and bad points, like with any book. I'll have a look through both of them. Still pretty new to this video lark, so do bear with me. Overall, I did not enjoy this as much as I enjoyed Fellowship, and that surprises me as much as it probably surprises you. Because a lot more happens in this book, and you'd think that that would make it sort of faster paced and more fun, but I didn't find that. I found there was just as much dullness to be found in this as there was in sort of walking endlessly through the Shire. I don't like Frodo particularly. I don't find him an interesting character. I know that's bad for somebody reading Lord of the Rings, but I don't particularly get along with it. So his story was very, very slow. We had the usual, here's what bit of Middle-earth we're in at the time, here's what it used to be, here's this and that. And it just makes you think of getting directions from old people where they say, turn left where the cinema used to be. I know I turned right there, but that's not the point. But I love backstory. I'm a man who thinks backstory is brilliant. I write lots of backstory, but it's just too much. It just slowed everything down the way that happened, and it's particularly evident in the Frodo and Sam and Gollum story. The Treebeard story, interesting concept. I know he got the idea from Birnam Wood in Macbeth and was disappointed that it wasn't literal and thought, oh, I'll make that literal and have Birnam Wood come and save the day. So that's an interesting idea, but it hasn't been done in an interesting way. It's, again, very, very slow, very, very in-depth, and didn't do a great deal for me. The fun storyline, the interesting storyline, the Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli going to meet the Rohirrim and all that, it was better, but it was still quite slow and drawn out, quite long-winded, which I know we should expect from Tolkien, but it still felt unnecessarily long. We had some potentially really good characters like Eomed and Eowyn and Theoden, and they just felt wasted. It just felt like they came along, waved, and then went away again, and that they're just there as a device for Aragorn to be more heroic. So I thought, that was a bit of a shame. I would have liked to have seen more of that. And like a lot of these things, it's things where that was a good idea, but I don't like how it was executed. There were good points. You know, I'm not just going to sit here and rail about how dreadful it is. There were good points. Gollum is an interesting character. He's tragic and he's complicated, and I like that. You know, he is good. He's a good villainous type without being an out-and-out villain the way Sauron is. And even Saruman, I know there's a more complex story behind Saruman, but he's a slightly black and white villain at sort of face value. I like Faramir. I like him very much. He felt a bit shoehorned into this book, but I do like him. The tension leading up to Shelob was good. I liked that. That reminded me of the Black Riders in Book 1, where there's this sort of sinister threat going on throughout it. And I thought that was done well. The battle itself, kind of like Battle of Helm's Deep, it's a lot of build-up, and the event itself is only okay. But some good stuff there. My final, I know I said I wasn't going to just rail on bad things, but one bad thing I did forget to mention. My final bad thing is, yet again, we come tantalizingly close to a romantic subplot. We briefly met Arwen in Book 1, which could have led to something, but nothing. We met Eowyn here, could have led to something, but nothing. And I feel let down because I know this is heroic fantasy in the sort of spirit of things like Beowulf. That's what Tolkien was going for, and he's not looking at things that are romantic as we would now say it. He's looking at things that are romantic as he would have said it. But it just felt we could have done with some more of that sort of thing to give a bit of depth. You know, Aragorn just doesn't seem to care that this lovely lady is very, very keen on him. Even if he's not interested because he's with Arwen, that's not really coming across either. So it's not that he's tempted and saying no, and it's not that he's not interested because he's loyal to somebody else. There's none of that. There's none of that drive in his psyche. And it's a drive in everybody's psyche, and it makes people relatable. So I was a little bit let down by that. Overall, it's worth reading because I wasn't put off enough that I didn't want to read Return of the King. So it's not going to be, oh, this is dreadful, don't read it. Do read it. It has its good points, and it is worthwhile to get to the next bit. But I am sad to say, Professor Tolkien, sorry, I know it's much better than anything that we're doing now, I know. But it didn't work for me. It didn't grab me particularly. So, yes, by all means read it, because there's other stuff around it that's worth knowing. But it is a bit of a slog to get through. It wasn't as much fun as book 1. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Right, that's my second reviewing video done. Let me know what you think. Comment, like, subscribe, share, all those other social media terms that young people seem to know how to work. Thank you, and I will see you again. Bye now.